sorry about the laptop. My iPad has had an unfortunate accident this morning. So we want to talk about networks. The idea of network government has been mentioned a few times already, and I think that there's a lot of stuff that's packed inside that, and I think we want to try to kind of figure out what does that mean in terms of how we organize ourselves as government organizations and how we connect with the public. And certainly it's no secret that government has been changing, or at least trying to, for the last several decades, in how it both connects with people and how it delivers service to the public. Once upon a time, government was a monolithic, maybe in some places it still is, but it was a monolithic, vertically integrated service provider that owned pretty much all of the distribution channels for their certain kind of services. But over the past several years, sorry, I have not been advancing my slide. One more time. There we go. So over the past several years, we've seen government kind of ceding control. There's been a renegotiation or negotiation of the boundaries of where the public sector lives and what it does and how it relates to the private sector. And we've seen the role of government kind of evolving into a manager of relationships amongst vendors, amongst other government organizations and agencies, NGOs, nonprofits, and so on. And I think when this is well done, it's sort of government as community manager. And there's some common examples that we can think of in the everyday. So these are kind of like old school biggies. We can think of the relationship that FEMA has to the Red Cross in responding to national disasters. We can think of the way that military contractors like Blackwater relate to the military, and there's sort of, when you think of like your local trash, that's I don't know how it works here, but in many cities that's actually not the city that's doing that. It's really a private contractor that's doing that. And these are sort of elements of how the network paradigm has slowly been sort of becoming inculcated into how the government delivers service. When we look at, this concept has actually been explored. I mean, so people like Stephen Goldsmith, formerly the mayor of Indianapolis and the Harvard Kennedy School, and Bill Eggers at Deloitte have been studying this for a little while. It's a really kind of interesting shift. And so we as a community, we have not really talked about this very much, and I think it's kind of a new topic for us. And so there's a lot of open questions, I think, that we want to kind of get into. I think questions like, how do we build and sustain these networks? So not just between government and vendor, but how do we pull the community into that? How do we pull private individuals into that network? How do we engage in projects that produce real tangible benefits to the various partners in the network? And how do we effectively share knowledge, skills, and experience across that network? So in many ways, this notion is really about collaboration. And for this group, obviously, we're really interested in how do we collaborate around the development of new kinds of tools to connect with people and to deliver value to the public. So over the past several years in Boston, we've been kind of playing with this idea of network as it relates to city services and to innovation. And so I'll tell you a little bit about what we've done, how it relates to sort of networks, and sort of tell you a little bit about some of the lessons learned. So Jane Jacobs, I was thrilled to see, this is like the third appearance, I think, that Jane Jacobs has made in this conference. So she was once yesterday, last night at the Ignite, and then here she is again. And this quote, I think, is also like the second or third time it's been up here, which is fabulous. And it kind of makes sense, because what is a city if not a network of networks, a network of people, places, and things? So this is very much for us sort of the departure for our work. In urban mechanics, we sort of have this general structure where we try to cast a very wide net in terms of the people that we work with. So people from the community, from for-profits, nonprofits, foundations, the entire community, the community writ large. And then we work with those folks to figure out how do we turn what they kind of come to us with, these project proposals, into actual executable proofs of concept. And we use the language of lean startups very much in the work that we do. And then so we have sort of this execution-oriented section of our work here in the middle, where it's all about getting something out and sort of getting people to try it. And then the last piece is really, if it was successful, how do we scale it up? And if it was not successful, how do we shut it down? Or if there's a way of tweaking it, is there a way for us to rerun the project and see if we can get better results that way? So again, and it was also fabulous to see, because I've been kind of pimping Anthony Townsend's work for about a year now since this came out. And in many ways, it kind of articulates what a lot of the work that we've been doing in neuromechanics, which is we are actively trying to build this. We're trying to build a network of cities that are working as civic innovation incubators or laboratories around the world, sort of sharing ideas, sharing risk, and so on. And so that kind of plays into some of the things I'll tell you about right here. So I figured, I wasn't sure if I would run over time or not, so I suspect I will. But so I figured I would tell you what we've learned to begin with, and then give you the examples. So these are like 4 models that we've been developing, I would say, effectively in Boston. So the first is this concept of a network incubator. So we do a lot of work in which people come to us with specific ideas, and because our team is small, and we've kind of designed it that way, the only way that we can actually make these projects to develop kind of civic products or civic engagement products work is by bringing a network of partners together. Partners like Code for America, design firms like Continuum or IDEO, or community research groups, or whoever, researchers, what have you. Number 2, so the community resource network. One of the things that we definitely see at the local level is that oftentimes there are wonderful resources, but connecting them is often really hard to do because everybody speaks different languages, sort of universities or for-profits, non-profits, community groups, they all have a different language. They all have a different time frame. They think about the problem from different perspectives. And so we spend a lot of our time building the capacity for those different organizations to actually talk to each other. Number 3, scaling networks. I think this is a critical element. For projects that work, civic innovation projects that actually work, there needs to be a mechanism by which we can scale them to other cities and to sort of broaden the impact that they're having. And that's just as much for the innovator, the person that's promoting that project, as it is for any government agencies that are involved. Because if the innovator is trying to, if they want to take their idea to the next level, they need a way of not having to reinvent the wheel each time they go to another city. So they need to have this kind of network infrastructure that allows them to scale. And lastly, risk management networks. How do we work together in a network format so that we can be leveraging each other's skills and abilities and share risk so that no one city has to sort of, again, sort of using the Clay Johnson notion, sort of run through the wall by themselves and get all bloody. Maybe if we went as a group, we would get less bloodied. So the first project I'll tell you about on the network incubation model, this was a project that we've been working on for about a year. It's called Technology for Autism Now. This was, the genesis of this was a private individual came to us with an idea for building tablet and iPad apps that would support autistic kids in learning. It was a kind of a really cool idea, but we had no idea how to, even how to think about that, because we're not experts in autism, at least not then. So what we did was to reach out through our network, through our friends at MIT to first do an assessment of the idea. Is this a good idea? We need someone to help us with, sort of understand that. And 2, so it turned out that it was a good idea, which was good. But how do you actually build the technology? And so we were able to pull in a local technology partner. They also needed help with design, so we were able to bring in another sort of network partner to do that. And then in order to be able to test it, we needed yet another partner. The Boston Public School System is going to be rolling this out through their special education department early next year. So this is a really kind of interesting model of how you can bring a network together to focus on a particular product or project to get it out the door. This is a project, the Community Innovation Lab is a collaboration between neuromechanics, Harvard's Graduate School of Design, the Harvard Kennedy School, and 3 community groups. And the idea is, it's really getting to this idea that how do we build the capacity, especially amongst community groups, to be able to work with all these different organizations. In a place like Boston, we're kind of resource rich in a lot of ways, where we've got people that want to solve these problems, that want to take these things on, but the people that are kind of best positioned to actually be able to help, to receive that help, namely the community organizations or the NGOs, often don't know how to respond to these researchers. They don't know how to think about the technology and so on. So a lot of what we do, so in this lab/class is building that network, right, and sort of focusing on specific projects and problems that the community group is kind of working on or is facing, and then bringing the public policy students, really kind of turning the public policy students into civic hackers by hybridizing them with designers. So it's an interesting sort of genetic experiment. Scaling networks. So we've heard a lot about TextZen. I think so. We actually just started using TextZen 2 weeks ago, and we talked to our friends in Philadelphia and said like we should just start doing this now. And so for some of these other projects, actually Community Plan is another project that we're doing collaboratively with Philadelphia, but that has also been run in Detroit and in Lowell, Massachusetts, and Quincy, Massachusetts. This is one so that we're working with our partners in those various cities. We can scale up that particular project. It's essentially a game around civic dialogue. Street Bump is another project that we're working on. So this is a mobile phone app that uses the accelerometers to detect when you hit a pothole, and we're looking at scaling that up to, that's going to be worldwide at this point. It was kind of crazy. So they want to use it in South Africa. They want to use it in Perth and all these different places. And so we're still trying to figure out how that will work. But I think having this infrastructure where we're communicating with the cities gives us the ability to kind of pre-negotiate some of those deals. And then finally, yesterday, you guys, some of you that were standing beside me when Mayor Nutter was talking might have heard me giggling when Mayor Nutter essentially launched, that was the launch of New Urban Mechanics Philadelphia, right? So there they are. So Jefferson story right there. This is, as far as we know, there's nothing else quite like this. So this is two government organizations that are forming a network that is going to be collaboratively developing a bunch of projects, really kind of, it's sort of like a decentralized mayor's office of New Urban Mechanics. I mean, so that we are resources to each other, they can sort of steal our ideas and vice versa. The people that work with us are, in effect, kind of working for them as well. Surprise, Michael Evans. So this is a really interesting experiment for us. And so with that, I will stop talking, and I will introduce the rest of the panelists. So to begin with, we have Sophie Reisman, who is the Director of Smart Disclosure for the US Treasury Department. We have Jay Anderson from the Office of Innovation and Sustainability for the City of Colorado Springs. Teresa Reno-Weber, Director of Performance for the City of Louisville. And Jim Craner, from formerly of CfA and now at CCAN and Open Data.